So then I started learning physics, I think, in middle school, and then was when I loved physics because it's like magic. And then I just went into mechatronics for my undergrad, which is kind of robotics. So I got all my answers.
That's
for
really
my
cool.
questions. Yeah.
I don't know how the world works. Awesome.
Yeah. So mine's maybe a little different. I was always good at math and science, and I was actually a summer research student in the WISES program. So up until then, I had no idea what engineering was. It wasn't ever talked about in my school. I'm from a rural community, so I did a summer in chemical engineering, and then I was like, okay, I'll go into engineering, and that's how it happened.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I like kind of had a similar thing where like towards the end of high school, I wasn't really sure like what I wanted to do, but like I found that like math and sciences came very intuitive to me, and then someone mentioned like engineering. I had no clue what it was, but I signed up anyways, and 5 years later, here I am. Yeah.
Very cool.
So I was that kid who liked science. I was always really good with my numbers. Like I was in numbers everything. And my parents used to buy me a lot of children's experiment books. And I had little experiment kits. I was the kid that had that childhood chemistry set. And yeah, for a long time, I always liked science, but I thought I was actually going to be a chef. And then in grade 11, we had someone come in and talk to us about her career in plastics. And I was like, wow, you can do really cool things with plastics. And that's chemistry. And then, yeah, still thought I was going to be a chef and took a lot of time off after high school and realized that, no, chef wasn't for me because it's all really hard work. But I always liked chemistry. And chemistry is basically cooking, but with chemicals. So I decided to do chemistry.
That's totally right, though. I mean, you have to know so much chemistry to be a good chef. Yeah. You don't always necessarily learn it. Absolutely. Awesome. So next question. What is your favorite thing about either working or studying in a STEM field today? Miranda, let's start with you again. We'll mix it up.
I always loved puzzles. Mm-hmm. And so I like that my day-to-day work is essentially large-scale problem solving and figuring out science puzzles. So that's what I loved about research. And that's what I love about science, because even when you finish the puzzle, there's always another piece to build or another bigger puzzle to take the first one to make it better. So
yeah, awesome.
I think I really like it because science is like you can apply it worldwide. Mm-hmm. And you just can move everywhere and you can work everywhere. Because I'm a Mexican, so I just came here, so I really like it. And also like you said, like problem solving, I love that. Like I used to like love riddles and stuff like that, so I really like it.
Yeah, science is kind of a universal language, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so similar in general puzzles. But especially for structural engineering, I really like being able to see using like math and basic principles to make something real life, like useful. Design a building. It's cool to like drive around places and be like, I designed that building. I did all the math to make it get there. So that's a really rewarding part.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think like just the challenges that you face like in the STEM field, like when you look at a problem, like just coming from the student perspective, there's a lot of things that seem like very challenging and overwhelming at first, but like breaking it down to small components, working through it, and eventually like getting through it is the most satisfying thing. So that's what I really like about it.
I think for myself, I just love the diversity that really comes in the STEM field. Like you sit here and you see like all of us and all the different backgrounds, but there's like this central, I guess, like silver thread that connects them all. And from like starting out in chemistry and then kind of being out in the workforce and kind of realizing like the little bits and pieces of how it all fits together has probably been my most exciting part. I love patterns, and I just kind of noticed all the patterns.
So we're all science geeks.
Yeah.
Got it. Established. That is well established, and I'm all here for it. Cool. So the next question, we'll flip things, and we'll start at this end. I'm going to ask all of you guys to describe any unique challenges that you think you've faced while pursuing an education or career in STEM. So anything you folks have to add?
I think one of the biggest challenges doing a STEM career in Alberta is it's so dependent on our economy, unfortunately. And I suffered through getting laid off at a young age, and I was like, that just never happens. I went to school, I got my good education. So I think that was one of honestly, the biggest challenges of just being in this province.
That's fair.
Yeah.
As a student, I think one of the challenges I faced was definitely like time management and figuring out like a schedule that works as a student, making time for classes and extracurriculars and like things that are important outside of academics and work. Yeah.
I think for engineering, for myself, it was I didn't know any engineers. I didn't know any other ones to like network and get kind of help and advice from. Whereas a lot of the friends I went to university with, they had family or at least a family friend that was an engineer. And I feel like I was just trying to do it on my own from the very beginning. That was definitely a challenge.
And that seems to be pretty common for a lot of female engineers. While the percentages are still pretty low, there's still only about 30% of engineers in Canada right now identify as female. And so that can be a challenge if you don't have any role models, right?
Yes.
Totally.
I think for me it was more like a social issue kind of thing, because I don't know here, but at least in Mexico, my career was like meant for men. And even in my family, I remember that some of them like told me like that career is for men. What are you doing there? I'm like, I don't know. I just like it. I'm not sure. I just like it. And for example, I went to an all-female high school. So for me, the change from being an all-female high school to a career mainly with boys, it was a huge change because I didn't know a lot of stuff that they already knew. So for me, that was really, really hard. But I really enjoyed it. It was like a huge challenge, but I'm glad I'm here. It's working.
Well, we're glad you're here too.
Yeah, I found quite similar challenges, especially when I shifted from biological science, which nowadays is very, I guess, quite a bit female. And then moving into engineering, I found like I almost had to shift my identity and who I thought I was and what being a woman in STEM meant changed to me then. So trying to consolidate who I was, because I'm quite a girly girl, that and blending it with my science career and not having one take away from the other. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good chat. Just to add on that, like being in the industry and working with my company only has 3 female engineers and like everyone else is male. It's a small company, but just trying to have that balance of being like, I'm with the boys club now, but I still want to showcase like girly girlness and like kind of like just not losing your identity and like kind of showcasing it so others can see like, hey, I can be a girl and be in STEM.
And the diversity that different perspectives like that can bring can actually help benefit everybody and make your career and your company stronger. Right? Yeah. It's been shown so much in all the research. Awesome. Okay, so we'll start over here again. Another question: how did you set yourself up for success in STEM? So, what are a couple major things that you did that you think helped to lead to your success?
Well, similar to how you described, not really having anyone in your family that had like was in science in the same way you were. I had to really reach out to people that I saw within the community or here at the university that were maybe like a couple of years ahead or pursuing their master's or PhD while I was still in my undergrad, and just kind of gain their life experience on what it's like to be a female in the STEM world, because I didn't have that close-knit mentorship. And then as I got more comfortable with talking to that community and then getting really involved with the local science community here at the U of A, it just made me more comfortable with it and made it a lot easier to understand my journey because others had gone through it.
It's very relatable.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in terms of like sorry, what was the question again?
No, that's okay. How do you think you set yourself up for success? What are a couple things that you did that you think helped to make you successful?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess it ties back to like time management. Like I said previously, like setting aside time for things that are important and like learning that it's okay to ask for help when you need it, whether it be whether it be something that's like professionally or even just like a personal thing, and just learning that that's totally okay.
Yeah, that is a huge thing. Yes, absolutely.
Like all the big head nods. So I feel like building on that would be a support network. Like university is challenging and engineering is a challenging degree. But having that support network, I had a very, very close group I was civil engineering, so civil friends, and did all of our homework together, our projects together, worked very closely as a team, and we were still all very, very close to this day. And like, that's what got me through engineering for sure.
That's great.
Yeah. I think adding to that, being not afraid to say, I don't know.
Mhm.
And I had to learn how not to be afraid of like failure, because I don't know. Like my projects usually didn't work at the first try, like almost any of them. So I just needed to keep trying until they work. And as you said, with my team members and my friends, that actually worked. So and then I just keep repeating to myself, like, it's okay if I don't know, I just can learn that. But I just keep repeating that to myself just until now.
Yeah, you just described like the entire first year of my master's degree in a nutshell. So I totally get it. Yes.
I think for me, networking outside of my specific training domain was really helpful because it allowed me to make friends and connections that sometimes they'd bring a different perspective. Like being a biologist, having friends who are engineers, sometimes they'd look at things a slightly different way and be like, hey, did you think of it that way? And even now entering my career, a lot of those have ended up in really neat connections and support groups that have been beneficial. I feel the faculties kind of preach within themselves that when you come to university, like your friends all need to be faculty of biosci or they all need to be engineers, but go explore.
And I will just say, as a small plug for Wisest, that we do have an undergraduate club. UAY is on the campus. That's a really great way to meet a bunch of interdisciplinary STEM students. And we also have a network for graduate students and professionals that's called Wiser. And so, again, another great way to network and to meet people and all that fun stuff. Just had to get that plug out there. Awesome. So we'll switch things up, start up with Miranda again. If you could give yourself one piece of advice, you in high school, you give one piece of advice to yourself in high school, what would you say?
You don't have to have it figured out at 17. Like I thought I had to have my career picked and I wanted to be a doctor. So I thought I needed these classes and this degree. And I ended up switching majors more times than I could count. And then I switched masters halfway through the degree. So just open yourself up to life experience. And it's okay. Like I don't even have it figured out now and I'm about to graduate. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I think like adding up to that, just not being afraid to make mistakes. Like it's okay.
I think that's so important. I think a lot of, especially women that I've met in STEM, come from kind of almost a perfectionism thing, right? Like, well, I get straight A's and I'm so used to doing all of this. And it's really hard to learn that failure is okay and that you can really learn from it, right? It's something that's really tough to learn, but so important.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly my point too. It's okay. Yeah, you don't have to be perfect, which I grew up, had really high marks in high school, but I was in a small group. Different when you come to university setting, you have some of like the most brilliant minds. People come from all over the world to hear. So, but it's okay. You don't have to be at the top. And if you want to, that's great. But it's also more about, I agree, making connections and enjoy your time at university. Like enjoy it. It's not just about the school and the grades, and it's about making connections and enjoying it.
Yeah, it's not the grades you remember at the end of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I would say don't worry about making a life plan. Life will happen and that's okay. Just learn to go with the flow and accept opportunities as they present themselves and just learn from your experiences wherever you can. Yeah.
I guess the advice I'd give to high school me, it would have been to continue to trust your gut, listen to yourself, listen to your own intuition. I took 2 years off after high school and everyone told me I was crazy. What are you doing? You should be going to university. And I was like, no, I'm okay. I knew I was going to get there. So I was like, what's the rush? And I'm really happy that I just, filtered out what everyone else had to say and just listened to what I wanted to do. And I think you'll get really far doing that.
Awesome. I love that. Cool. So now we're going to move on to, we have some awesome questions that were submitted online, which I'm very excited for. So let's start with one of those. And we'll start with Miranda again. If you ever felt like you didn't know enough or didn't have enough experience, how did you overcome that?
As a grad student, the imposter syndrome's real. Quite often I still feel that way. I think you have to remind yourself that even your professors don't know everything. Like they're experts in their fields, but they're not experts in life. And everyone's here to learn and to grow. So if you look at things more like a learning opportunity than being tested on everything in life, you can kind of get over it. Even then, it's just trusting yourself and what you know. And in terms of research, like you may be insecure in yourself, but your data won't lie.
Right.
So if the graph looks pretty.
Yeah. What was the question?
Yeah. So if you felt like if you ever, kind of imposter syndrome, right? If you ever felt like you didn't know enough or didn't have enough experience, what's something that you did to maybe overcome that? It's a tough question, but that's good. I like these, that people set these questions in.
Yeah, I think I actually sometimes I still feel that I don't know enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I just dig up in books or YouTube or tutorials or whatever I can find just to, I don't know, make my doubts go away. Or I even go with my supervisor and ask them questions. Mm-hmm. And I had to overcome that fear of actually saying, okay, I don't know, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always thought that I was supposed to know everything, but I do not.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah, very, very similar. It's having the confidence to ask or to say, I don't know, can you help me with this? Whether it's a supervisor or a mentor or someone. And I also believe, I still ask. Constantly, I go into a meeting or go to a job site. I'm like, I don't know. No one can know everything. That's 100% impossible. So, also, I would think lifelong learning. I totally believe that. I still go to workshops and go to different events and always learn. Look, learning from all of you.
Yeah, no, there's a lot that I don't know. There's a lot that everyone doesn't know, and that's okay. But something I've learned is there's a lot of value in knowing where to find that information. And that is something that I feel like just going throughout university, that's just a skill that you pick up, and just trusting hey, I do not know this specific thing, but I know where I can look for it, or maybe someone I could talk to learn about it. And yeah.
So the imposter syndrome does not go away. It's funny because I literally had a conversation with this, with a couple of coworkers at my work a few days ago. And it's just that you just accept it. If no one's an imposter, you can't know everything in this planet, in this world. And everyone said, you just get the confidence of admitting that I just don't know. One of my biggest challenges with my current situation was I'm a chemist who worked for an engineering company. So I walked into that job knowing nothing about engineering. And I wasn't going to sit there and say to people's faces that I knew all these things about pumps and flow meters and stuff like that. I just said I don't know, you have to teach me. And they were completely okay with it. So
awesome. Great. Okay. Here's another question. What advice do you have for somebody who doesn't know what area of science they want to pursue? Let's start with Miranda again. I know you said you had lots of different majors, so.
I did. Kind of circled around the same theme, but then jump ship completely. Try new things, take those weird classes. I took a contemporary dance class in university. You don't, at least as I remember, you don't really have to pick your major till the end of second year. Even then, I switched mine after, it was fine. But take those weird classes. Don't necessarily just take classes because your friends are in them. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people out of high school, I remember we sat down and we're like, hey, we're all gonna take these together and it's gonna be great. But you know what? I wanted to take anthropology. I wanted to take psychology and no one did. Mm-hmm. And I love taking courses still. And I found it was through those odds and end oddball courses that I found things that led to what I was passionate about. So yeah, try everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Explore and ask questions. Go to the experts just to ask that, experiment whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. I guess I can speak for engineering, especially at the U of A here, it's open the first year, so you dabble in all different types of engineering, try to figure out what you want to do, and then you specialize going into your second year. And it's take the courses that you want. all of my friends that I had in first year engineering, no one went into civil except for me. So I had to make all new friends. So it's okay. I had to do that. Yeah, just like you said, try new things and be open to it and just go with what your interests are in.
Yeah, and I would say like just don't feel like you're making a mistake because you're not, because even if you do change paths multiple times, you're learning new skills and things in different fields that'll definitely come to be beneficial in the long run. So don't feel like you're ever wasting your time as long as you're doing what you want to in the moment or working towards that. And
Yeah, and to quickly add to that, like definitely be in the moment. Like don't get your blinders set on this idea of a job you want at the end, because you might miss out something really cool that's in the present.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. All of them are really great answers. And just trying it all out. Like your first year in university is for you to kind of dabble in all those weird things. And for a lot of things, like I did general science and I didn't even have to pick a major right away by the end of my second year. So I just kept dabbling and I took those weird courses. I took a climate course that was like right up your alley. And I was like, never again. That's how I knew that physics wasn't for me. Yeah, there's those fun things that you get to do. And as she said, like don't just follow what your friends are doing, because this is your time to kind of like figure yourself out. You spent like the last 13 years following other people. This is the first time you get to decide what you want to do.
Great advice. You guys are awesome. Okay. So the next question, are there ways, do you have any suggestions for ways for a high school student to get involved in STEM outside of school? So I would say let's try to go at this from maybe a small town, big town perspective. I guess we can start with you. I know you said you're from a small town. So can you think of any ways for?
So yeah, I grew up small rural town, like 5,000 people. I was always in 4-H growing up, and 4-H club, it's like a youth club. You can try different things, and that's an opportunity where 4-H isn't just about raising cows and stuff. There's so many different things. You can do almost anything you want. I did animal sciences for part of mine. I wanted to be a vet at one point in time. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes you might not always have the opportunities in your town or in your school, but reach out to your teachers even. Maybe you're really interested in one like chemistry or something that you learned in school. Just talk to your teachers, ask them if they have different assignments or something you can work on. Or most teachers, if they love their topic, they'll give you like extra information. They love teaching. So yeah.
That's good advice.
I think that's the perfect answer for that question. Because I always got luck and I always had like science courses. And when I was on my last year of high school, I got to choose, because it's a bit different back there than it's here. I choose all my assignments, my courses into the science part of it. And I even took some medicine courses and I was like, oh, this is not for me. And even the chemistry ones, I was like, okay, I don't understand this. But I got the opportunity to check all of that and to try a lot of stuff. But like from coming to a small place, your answer was perfect.
I guess I can give a big city perspective and an Edmontonian perspective. I did the Wisest Research Program when I was in high school. That led to, there used to be a program called Samuel Phi Adventists where high school students could go into university labs and research for a full year. I don't think that's still around, but I know through the Edmonton Science Fair, you can do that and then compete to try and win the Canada National Science Fair. I also got involved with the Telus World of Science when I was quite young. You can start volunteering. I started with employment. So it was a great way to get more involved in the educational outreach side of science, as well as there's organizations like Discover E. The Girl Guides nowadays will have science badges and units. So there's many different ways to get involved, especially in the city of Edmonton. So
It's great.
For myself, I actually, it was like that's so long ago. I'm trying to think now. Yeah, I just talked to teachers. I did have a teacher that used to give me a lot of extra work and just gave me good resources that she can go and tell me about with chemistry. That's mostly in high school. Yeah, I actually didn't look to it too much because I wasn't sure that I was going to do science at that point. So yeah, but all their answers were great answers.
Yeah, I came from like, I guess, a smaller mid-sized city, Grand Prairie, so it's just north of here. But yeah, so in terms of like science STEM opportunities for high school students, there wasn't much that I had access to when I was in high school and growing up. But one program in particular was called Destination Imagination, where you're faced with STEM challenges, or you could take on like an arts or other topic-based challenge, and it was free to participate in on the regional level, at least for my community, and that was a great thing to take part of in order to like learn more about STEM while I was still growing up. So yeah.
The only thing I would add to that is that there's the whole wide world of the internet that has so many different things on pretty much any topic. And so you can find an online community that can help you with that. If you're really interested in coding, there's tons of free coding classes you can take, those types of things. Yeah.
Joel, I just wanted to add, the summer research program that I did it as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't think maybe it was an option for me because I was from rural. You had to come work at the university. I'm like, well, I don't live in Edmonton, but I got to live in like off-campus like residence. That was phenomenal. It was, don't be scared to try new things. It was terrifying. I was I was terrified to come live in the city. I was 16, but it was really, really fun. It was awesome. Yeah.
And so that's our summer research program for grade 11 students. So we're going to be doing our 35th year of that this summer, which we're super excited about. So yes, super excited about that. Okay, another awesome question that was submitted to us online. Who are your role models, and then how much did they influence your choice to go into STEM? So I'll start here this time.
Ooh, okay.
On the spot.
Trying to think, role models. Like I've like always been into like theater and arts. And like when I was growing up, I watched like Glee, and I was obsessed with like Rachel because like, she was so motivated. But anyways, it did not motivate me to go into STEM per se, but it motivated me to follow my passions and live life headstrong. So yeah,
sometimes that's all you need. Sing along to some journey too while you're at it, right?
Yeah,
awesome.
Oh gosh, so some of my role models growing up, just trying to think back to this now. I used to really love track and field. So like Donovan Bailey back in the day, I just thought he was everything. And then he just was like athletes. Athletes had so much drive, and I just was always thought that was like just such an amazing thing. So I think I took some of my athletic drive and that background of wanting to like be personally better, and I just applied that when I got to school. I can't really think of really anyone else.
It's okay. Yeah. It's a tough question.
It's a tough question.
Kind of similar. Like I did competitive dance when I was younger, so I loved Karen Kane and how she was so passionate about what she wanted to do. So I applied that to my science training, just that passion. I also really loved the show called Popular Mechanics for Kids. And they had these two teenagers on there that would always do science experiments. And that seemed so fun. And I was like, I want to do that for a living. Like, pay me to blow stuff up. So that may have had a bit of influence as well.
Wow. I think, I don't know why, but my dad, I think, because we're 4 sisters. So he didn't got the boy. So he was like, come here and help me change the tire or whatever stuff to the car and fix the stuff around the house. And I was like, okay, this is cool. And then my oldest sister went into engineering actually. And I just saw her and I was like, okay, she seems happy. I think I can do this. And yeah, I think
that's great.
Yeah, similar. So I have 2 older brothers, and I wanted to do everything they could do. Like there was no way I was going to do anything different just because I was a girl. And so, I helped my dad build stuff on the farm, and like I was always very involved. And then Dr. Margaret Ann Armour is like my all-time role model. Like I legit still fangirl in front of her. Can't speak. It's very embarrassing. But I went to, it's the SET conference, and she was doing a chemistry experiment in an auditorium, and even though I wasn't really interested in chemistry, she was just so inspirational. I was just like, oh, I will follow you anywhere.
She has that effect on people.
Yeah, she does.
Definitely. Yeah. So Dr. Armour she's the founding chair of WISEST, and she's the Vice Dean of Diversity in the Faculty of Science here at the University of Alberta. She's a chemist. She's in the Order of Canada. She's an awesome, amazing, inspiring woman. So yeah. Awesome. Cool. So the next question, what is a typical day in the life like for you where you are now? So in university, in your career, what would you say kind of that a typical day in life is like for you? Let's start at this end.
My days are not typical. I'm just trying to laugh at that. So a big part of my job right now, as I said, I work for an engineering company who has been branching out to do in-house chemical analysis. So I'm helping them build a lab, and it's been really interesting. So every day is very different, very dynamic. Today I had a lot of meetings about buying a gas chromatography unit and like the installation and stuff of that. So I deal a lot with training new chem techs from like NAIT that we're starting to take on as we build a whole new arm of our company. So I was like the first chemist that they've hired, and then along with their second was a chemical engineer. So my days are very unique. I don't really know how else to describe it. Like no 2 days is the same.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's not boring. It's not boring.
Yeah, when you're building a lab, it's like anything gets really thrown your way. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I like last year of school. I just finished this past April. Has been possibly my best year, like the most enjoyable year I've had. So I had decided to extend my degree an extra year. And then with that, I was able to take 4 classes and 3 classes a semester. So I was able to be an intern with a sustainability group on campus. So I would do my classes in the morning, and I would work at my internship in the afternoons. And it was so much fun, like getting to do more of like the technical science stuff in classes in the morning, and then getting to take a step back and do some event planning type work, outreach, as well as like report writing from a non-science perspective. So it was honestly my favorite like time in school. So yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
So right now I'm working for City of Edmonton, and I've only been with them for 6 months. So I came from industry, which means I was working in the consulting field, which I was designing buildings. So then it was calculations. It's also taking calls from contractors, people who are on site, need instructions, things go wrong. You have to, it's very, by the seat of your pants, like figure it out and just roll with it and do the best you can. And now I can be in a meeting to get a call because someone has run into a building, or and they're like, we need to come out and look at this. And I'm like, okay. So it's incredibly varied, which I love it. It's very, very diverse.
That's nice. Now that I'm done with my courses, I mostly work on my thesis research. So I just keep on coding. I had to learn how to code in R. It's a new program for data science. So that took a while. But now that it's working, I just keep coding and trying until I get like more accurate results. And I'm sort of starting to write some of my thesis. But I don't know how, but I really enjoy coding. I used to hate coding. I hate it. But now I love it, and I just really enjoy like looking at huge sets of data and just process them and then getting cute graphs. And, I really enjoy that. But I just have to keep trying, and I have to keep learning how to use different programs. And like most of all, I have to learn how the energy market works here in Canada. And that's amazing. I really enjoy learning about that. So I just keep reading papers, trying new formulas to my code and debugging everything, but I really enjoy it.
Cool.
I'm kind of in a similar spot in my career. I'm finishing up my master's, so my time spent between planning experiments and writing my thesis. I also will train younger undergrads and kind of mentor them through their projects. And then I've been really involved with organizations like Wisest and doing different science communications. So once or twice a month, I try to get out into the general public and go talk about science with 6th graders or something, just to they give you a fresh perspective on your research, and they're brutally honest, which is
awesome. Cool. Okay, another question. What has been your biggest setback studying a STEM field, and how did you overcome it? A little bit similar to some of the things we already talked about, but start again with you.
I guess my biggest personal setback was I actually switched from one master's program to another. And it took me a long time to really accept that as a learning experience in life versus I failed at a program, because that wasn't what it was. It wasn't where my career interests were. The project wasn't working great. Supervisor relationships weren't great. But I learned a lot personally about myself by going through an experience where you hate what you're doing. It really makes you realize what you love and what you should be doing. So I guess that was my biggest setback. And then kind of learning how to reprocess what that meant in my mind and what it meant for my career. Ultimately, it makes me a really diverse scientist, but it was a bit of a choking moment that I had to get over.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest setbacks was back in my bachelor's, like in the undergrad. I never failed anything in my life. And the first time I failed a course,
Yeah, that's a
I felt like I was dying. And I was worried because I had a scholarship and I was like, okay, I'm about to lose it. What am I going to do? I have to pay for it because it was really expensive. And I was like, what am I going to do? But everything was fine after that. And learned how to fail. Yeah. And then another setback was, it's not kind of a setback, but it was like a huge risk that I took. It was when I came here. Because I was between, okay, I got a stable job here in my hometown, or I don't know. I was like between that and my family, my friends, and everything I know. And then should I move to Canada without knowing anybody? I don't know the city. It's another language. I think the language, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's a kind of a setback because I miss home.
Yeah.
And everything is in English. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's nice. I think, failing that course was my setback. I was like,
But you
That
overcame
hurts.
it. Look at you now.
So actually similar, I was in third year of my undergraduate and I failed 2 courses, one of which was a structural course. I still became a structural engineer. And it was, you had mentioned it before about making sure you had time for yourself and going through like personal stuff, and it was really challenging. And so I ended up, having to fail 2 courses. I'd never failed anything in my life, ever. And it was devastating. But, and I had to get approval from the faculty to take the 4th year structural course at the same time as I was retaking the 3rd year one, which in hindsight was the best because I had to learn it well. I remember my first assignment in the 4th year course was a practice final from the 3rd year course. I'm like, oh, right. Pick up the socks and let's go. So, and now I practice structural engineering, and it made me love it and it made me work for it. Like I wanted to stay in engineering. Yeah.
Cool. I guess like for me, a big setback was like not feeling like heard, or not being heard in group project settings, which like I feel happens a lot and people don't really realize when they're like over talking or talking over you, not listening, that sort of thing, which can be very frustrating to deal with when you're the only person who looks like me or you in a group working a group project, which has been challenging. But I guess with that, I've been forced to learn to speak up for myself and work to make myself heard. Like it sucks that I have to work to be heard, but I guess that would be a challenge that I faced.
I can think of 2 setbacks off the top of my head. So I guess when I finished my degree here, I was doing research with, you may know Dr. Todd Lowry, and I was kind of set up to go into grad school, and I applied to grad school, and I had some issues with my application that were not my fault, were an external party that I actually had no control over because you need references. And when I didn't get accepted because of that, I was like, well, what's the point? I must not be good enough. But Todd reassured me, you're a good researcher. It has nothing to do with that. And I just never reapplied. And I was like, nope, I'm going to go and get a job in industry. And then it took me 18 months after graduating to get a job in industry. And through that whole time, I started to question if I did the right choice. Should I have ever gone into chemistry? Was that smart? Like there was only 17 people in my graduating class. Clearly there's not enough jobs for that. But it was through that I learned that I had perseverance and I could just like push through. And in the end, I ended up getting a really great first job, and I loved it. And then I'd say my second setback would be losing that great first job, getting laid off from the economy in Alberta. But from that, I got the job I have now. And my end goal that I always wanted to see myself with was like being a lab consultant. So doing research for a really long time and then helping people fix their labs. And somehow I ended up getting a job where they needed help to just make a lab. And I feel like I knew nothing because I was in Imposter Syndrome. I'm under 30, but they looked to me like I had everything. So they were setbacks that ended up being like huge leap forwards in my career.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, we're actually only have time for one more question, if you can believe it. This time has flown by. So to end things on a high note, what would you say has been your biggest achievement? Let's start with you again.
I think opening people's eyes to how cool chemistry is. Honestly, people have this like huge misconception about it, that all it is like this weird guy in a basement and they have all these like spirally glass things going around, and that's not the case at all. And then just, I guess there's so much talk right now in just the world about chemicals and the dangers and this is harmful and oh my god, there's a BPA in this bottle. And just the chemical education and just making people realize that like chemicals are your friends.
There's chemicals in everything.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
My biggest achievement. Can you come back to me?
Sure, we can do that.
Like,
yeah.
So I think mine would be my previous job. I worked, it was a small consulting firm, and like we kind of mentioned, there's not a lot of females engineers, and I had a civil engineering technologist that worked with myself on a team, and I had a summer student last summer in 2018, and she was just graduated from civil engineering, was actually going to go into her master's, and worked with us for the summer. And my goal, I wanted to make a really like great experience for her where she felt like very supported, and she gave me a really nice letter at the end of the summer, and I still have that letter to this day. I was like, yes, I'm like helping the next generation.
I love it.
Okay. Like I have sort of two.
Okay.
Like being here is a huge deal for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I've been like constantly asking myself, is it worth it? But I'm really happy here, so I think it is. Even though everything I know is far away, I just get to know everything you can here and making new friends. So that's good. But one of my biggest achievements is I used to be a robotics teacher in a high school back home. And last year, actually, a friend told me that one of the students told her that she wanted to go into mechatronics as Natalia did, and I was like, oh my god! I was like, that worked. 2 years that worked. I think that's one of my biggest achievements, because they like in that school they have a lot of, I don't know, like gender stereotypes and stuff like that. So that girl saying that, it was like, yes, it was worth it. I think that one.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just getting into grad school was a huge achievement for me, and finishing my undergrad degree, because my family is a very trades family. So not many people, at least on my father's side, have entered university. So just persevering through that degree was a huge moment for me. The moment I felt achieved as a scientist, it comes to like kids validating what you do. But I was doing outreach at the science center, and a fifth grader ran up to me super excited, and he's like, "You're a scientist," because we have these little buttons that say I'm a scientist. And he's like, "A real scientist with a lab and everything." And I'm like, yeah, I am. I am a scientist. Hear me roar. So that was just very validating in the moment. But yeah,
it's hard to use those words. I'm a scientist. Like
right?
I think for like the first 2 years of me working in industry, I just tell people I was a lab tech.
Yeah,
I never said it, and my friends would be like, "She's a chemist," and I'd be like, "Shh." So it's hard to say it to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready. Yeah, I guess biggest achievement. the one that came to mind as I was thinking was like completing my capstone project because I like literally just finished school, and
Which is a huge achievement in and of
Yes.
itself.
Yeah.
You just
Yes.
finished your degree.
yeah,
Yes.
but it was one of those projects that like we sat down at the beginning with my group and we were like, this is a lot of work, as it should be, because if you don't know, capstone's basically a big project that summarizes everything that you've learned throughout your degree. But yeah, we worked hard, set a schedule, and like stuck to it, and just submitting it at the end of the semester. It was so good. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Well, it looks like we're just about out of time. It's all the time we have for today. So we hope that you join us for our upcoming sessions. There's one on Monday, May 13th from 6 to 7 p.m. And then the last one will be Wednesday, May 15th, also from 6 to 7 p.m. And you can find those linked again on our YouTube channel, on our YouTube page. So on behalf of WISES, I would love to thank all of our awesome panelists for taking time out of their busy days to come and help us kind of come out and connect with students to share their stories. And then please check out WISES' next event for high school students, and that's our annual SET conference. That's actually happening November 23rd, so be sure to save the date for that. And if you actually fill out the post-event survey that you're going to receive to your emails, if you've registered, you can actually get a discount, a $20 discount to our SET conference. So, and help us make